Just before this video starts, I'd like to point out that this is a final part of 3 videos I've done comparing and analysing the 2026 mixes and sessions versions from the Queen 2 box set. In this video, I'll be going over the final 2 tracks on the sessions disc, as well as the rest of the box set. But first, I thought I'd switch it up and start this video going over what was left off the box set. In 1991, Hollywood Records commissioned remixes for certain Queen tracks for their releases of the Queen catalogue. After buying it in 1990, Nicholas Sansano, a New York producer, engineer and musician, was tasked with creating a remix of Ogre Battle for the Queen 2 release. He's most well known for producing hip-hop tracks with Public Enemy, Ice Cube, Rob Bass and Run DMC, and it shows, with this remix using samples of drums and guitars that were not played by Roger O'Brien. It does surprisingly stay close enough to the original structure and sound of the Queen 2 version though. I personally think this remix sounds all over the place. Freddie Bastone, who was also a producer from New York, was tasked with remixing 70 Years of Rye for the Hollywood Records re-release. And this remix is definitely more drastic. It's basically turned into an early 90s dance track, and Freddie's vocals kind of sound out of place on this instrumental. Which is a shame because Freddie can work on dance tracks. Just look at the No More Brothers remix of Living on My Own. But this remix is just so off. And there's also these out of place samples from other Queen songs that also don't match the beats. It's another mess of a remix, really. There is some moments where we get to hear some Freddie vocal moments without the backing vocals from the original version. That's interesting to hear, I guess. It also goes on for 6.5 minutes, which is 6.5 minutes too long if you ask me. I'm sure everyone will be delighted to hear that there was also an earlier version of this remix that appeared on the Unauthorized Club Record promo CD. For some reason, this version starts with God Save the Queen, and then it goes into the same dance beat as the final remix. The rest is pretty much the same, with some samples of other Queen tracks appearing in different places. In 2011, an instrumental remix was created of 70 Years of Rye for the deluxe remastered version of Queen 2. This remix didn't entirely stick to the progression of the album version, with a count-in from Freddie appearing at the start.
1, 2, 3, 4.
And also a full non-fade-out outro without the I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside bit. In the box set, we do get an instrumental version of 70 Years of Rye, but this features backing vocals and just the standard outro of the final album version. So it would have been nice to have this version included somewhere on the set. A bunch of early Queen 2 tracks were played at the 20th International Fan Club Convention in Presterton, 2 of which I went over in part 2, which was March of the Black Queen takes 3 to 5 and Funny How Love Is takes 2 to 4. An instrumental take of Nevermore was played at the convention as well, which sounds very similar to take 6 of the track on the sessions disc. The original BBC radio airing of Ogre Battle actually featured what seems like a different take of the song, which gets cut off, supposedly by the DJ, John Peel. And then the correct take plays. Supposedly, that take of the BBC version got damaged sometime after this aired, so this is the only bit of that take that we may ever hear. Future official releases like At the Beeb and On Air cut off this error made by the DJ, but I think it could be worth including on the BBC disc on the box set, as it is an odd bit of Queen history. Along with the official releases of the single of 70 Years of Rye, a UK promo was released for radio stations and media outlets to promote the single. This promo accidentally featured a wrong earlier backing track, so most of the existing copies were recalled and destroyed, with around only 5 copies now rumoured to exist in the world. It's unknown how different this backing track is, but my guess is that it might not feature the ending "I Do Like to Be Beside the Seaside" bit. It would have been great if the Top of the Pops performances of Seven Seas of Rye were included on the box set in Blu-ray form, as the first performance in particular captured the moment where they were recognised by the public and really went mainstream. I know some of the footage from these performances is damaged and they're mainly in black and white, but they're pretty important in the band's history, so it's a shame they're not on here. So that's it for the tracks missing from the box set. Let's go over the remaining tracks on disc 2 that I missed in the first 2 parts. This is a track that originated in the Queen 1 sessions with Seven Seas of Rye, and it ended up actually being a B-side to Seven Seas of Rye when it was released as a single. The Queen 1 sessions version and BBC recording feature Freddie giving a very Freddie performance, but this version features Freddie being very over-the-top flamboyant, which is really fun to listen to. I'm not sure if this should have been included on the sessions disc, as it is a fully complete track, but it is on the box set, so I'm not complaining. Not For Sale, or Polar Bear as it's most commonly known, is a track written by Brian that dates back to the Smile sessions, similar to Doing Alright. Smile recorded the track in September 1969 with Brian and Tim Safal, the lead vocalist of Smile, doing a duet. Queen would attempt the track again in the Queen 2 sessions, doing 5 takes before realising that the track wasn't suitable for the album. One of the recorded takes, take 2, leaked onto the internet in the early 2000s. This leak starts with 38 seconds of Roger being angry with a past take being too slow, and Freddie desperately trying to start the take.
No, we can't slow down.
Right, take 2.
Well, it doesn't need slowing down. It's creeping at the moment.
All right, try.
God, it was so slow, and it was getting even slower. You always try to play this back up,
Take 2.
It would be a fucking 12 string.
Take 2.
All right, we'll all follow you.
The band then finally start take 2, which sounds pretty similar instrumentally to the Smile version. There's then some small lyrical differences from the Smile version and this take, either from Freddie forgetting the original lines or Brian trying alternate lyrics.
But if I ask her, and when you see her light.
For the Queen 2 box set, a brand new version of Polar Bear was created, using material from the 5 takes of the song, the Smile recording, an early Brian solo recording, as well as brand new vocals recorded from Brian. Brian premiered this version of the track on Planet Rock Radio during his Christmas show, saying it was incomplete.
To my knowledge, no one has ever heard this version, which is kind of work in progress, and it will appear on the forthcoming rebuild of the Queen 2 album.
But comparing the broadcast version to the sessions disc version, they're pretty much the same. I'm not enough of an audiophile to recognise if this mix is any different, but Brian might have lied about any additional work needing to go into this. So let's take a deep dive into this new version and how it compares to the other 2 versions. And big credit for this section goes to We Used to Know on Reddit, who did a gigantic deep dive into this version and its differences. I'll leave a link to his post in the description. So first of all, there's some chimes applied to the intro that don't appear in the other 2 versions we heard. Maybe this is an inclusion that they made during a later take of the song, or it could be newly added in this mix, but okay. There's also a wind effect that appears in this new mix. Freddie also comes in a bit earlier in this new mix, the same way that Brian comes in on the Smile version. When Freddie comes in on vocals, it sounds like the leaked take 2 vocals at first, but then after shop window, another Freddie vocal take is used.
In a bright shop window sits a polar bear.
For the second line, Brian comes in as Freddie messes up this line. This sounds pretty similar to the small vocal take, but it is slightly different. So I'm guessing it's taken from a solo recording from around the Small days, possibly around the same time that Brian recorded the As It Began demo. It also sounds noticeably pitch corrected, which isn't great.
It makes the children's eyes light up to see him there.
Then the backing vocals come in, which sound similar to the small version, but feature less prominent Roger vocals. So this could be from a later Queen take. The pre-chorus bit then features a bunch of Freddie takes spliced together.
Among the tinsel he gives everyone a smile. See him as he sees the star, loving from where you are.
Then the chorus comes in with backing vocals from the small versions and Freddie vocals from take 2.
He's not for sale.
The backing vocals used originally included Tim Staffel's vocals from the original small version, but they're missing here.
Not for sale. Not for sale.
So I don't know if they still have the multi-tracks from those small sessions, or if they use a specific AI model that was trained on Tim's vocals to remove it from the mix, or if this was a different small take. Are you following? Probably not. Okay, let's move on. After the chorus, we get some more chime bits and some really nice acoustic guitar playing from Brian. With verse 2, Freddie messes up the lyrics again, so Brian's vocals from the small version are there instead.
Past an open window walks a pretty girl.
Then weirdly, with the second line on verse 2, we get vocals from the supposed Brian solo demo, with just the word feet being spliced in from the small version.
Does she see me at her feet? It's hard to tell.
We then go back into the pre-chorus, where Freddie's vocals from the first verse are reused, as he ad-libs the lyrics on take 2, and supposedly all the other takes they did. They did keep the start of the take 2 bit though, as Freddie clearly says her, but in the first verse he says he. So to make the line make more sense, a sh sound has been taken from somewhere and edited in to make it seem like Freddie is saying she.
And when you see her, she gives everyone.
The rest of the pre-chorus bit is then from take 2, and the second chorus is a repeat of the first chorus, that being backing vocals from the small version and Freddie vocals from take 2. We then get Brian's guitar solo from the small version. Then after that solo, we get the most polarising addition to this version, the new Brian vocals. I think it is pretty distracting hearing a late 70s Brian on the track, especially just for one line, but he does deliver a decent vocal performance for that one line, and it's nice hearing him duet and harmonise with Freddie's vocals, which are from take 2 up to halfway through, where it switches to a different vocal take.
And guess I learned to look without a grasping hand. And mother content, but where's her smile?
Lover from where you are.
We then have the final chorus, which features Freddie's take 2 vocals along with the small backing vocals. There's then some added chimes at the end, which sound really nice. Overall, it seems like they created this version with the intention to release it as a single, like Face It Alone, but I guess it just didn't work out. And it's very much an oddity on the sessions disc. And with that, I've gone through most, if not all, the additions and changes made to Polar Bear, and I just remembered that I'm not finished with this video. Disc 3 contains all the backing tracks for the Queen 2 album, which is nice to have, and there were instrumental discs for both the Miracle and Queen 1 box sets, so it makes sense to continue the trend. There's some really nice little bits that you can pick out when the lead vocals are not in focus. Some fans complained about the backing vocals still appearing on these tracks, but there are some really great harmony bits that are nice to hear in focus.
That's the first from a very fine session from Queen.
Disc 4 basically features all the Queen 2 tracks included on the on-air box set, as well as all of the Gold as Green performances on there as well. I said this with the Queen 1 box set, but I kind of find this disc unnecessary, as you're basically taking tracks from one box set and moving them to another, and it does kind of give them an excuse to bump up the price. But some fans say that they find it good that we have a box set that has everything Queen 2 related on it, so I don't know. I thought I'd also mention that this is the first time we have the Gold as Green performance and the full BBC sessions on streaming services, as we only have the standard release of On Air on music streaming platforms. Whilst I'm on this disc, I might as well point out something I missed in part 1, where on the sessions disc, the procession stage tape intro is the same recording which ends up being played back during the Gold as Green Hippodrome performance. Then finally we have disc 5, which is all the Queen 2 live tracks taken from the Rainbow and the Odeon. It's a pretty short disc with only 8 tracks, but again, it's there. So that's it for my deep dive into the Queen 2 box set. Brian said in a press event for this release that he plans for Sheer Heart Attack to be the next set.
Sheer Heart Attack's the next thing we're going to look at, I suppose. And I don't know what we're going to do to it, because I don't think there's much wrong with the mix, actually.
So they're continuing to go in chronological order. Let's just hope that we get it sooner rather than later, because I kind of want to be alive to see the release of an Innuendo set.